This is just going to include primary weapons, no secondaries, neither vehicles. I'm gonna leave the vehicles for another video, another video, another video, another video. Time for gaming. So after testing a lot of these vehicles and digging into their stats and also checking out their weaponry and having to research all of them, because I did lose my previous account with some issues I had with an email, so I had to start all over again in all the Gaijin games, yay! Anyways, I decided to separate 3 vehicles in this list. One that is going to serve mostly as a multi-purpose role, which you can already guess which it's going to be if you played this game in the early Germany. One for mostly dogfighting, but can also deal with, infantry and maybe vehicles in the ground, and one that is mostly just for bombing and not much for dogfighting, but it can hold its own if you have a good pilot in its hands. And also there's going to be some honorable mentions, but do be aware that, like I said before, it's going to be vehicles only for battle rating 1 and 2. 3 and beyond is out of the question on this list. So we'll start off with the multi-purpose aircraft in this game, which you can already guess which one it is if you played early Germany. It's the IAR, battle rating 1 Romanian fighter. And the thing you can notice straight away while looking at this is its fat fucking payload. But before we get into the goodies, which is the payload like I just said, let's get into its main gun, which is 2 20mm cannons, which is specifically the MG151s, which are high rate of fire German explosive cannons, and 2 7mm American guns. Even though a lot of aircraft do have like 20mm in low tier, this one has a lot of ammo, and it allows you to get some cheeky stuff like this, which you're seeing in these clips. And now talking about performance, it has an okay speed, but it's not the fastest even for a low tier aircraft. It does have an okay turn rate also, but it's also not the greatest, as you can see in some of these clips. Like, I am against the P-38, which are well known for just being, runaway bitches. They just, most of the time just ignore enemy fighters and just kamikaze into the ground. Or they just, go after bombers, and if you try to get after them, they know they're literally faster than almost any other aircraft from their tier, and will just run away from you nonetheless, and just balloon you to death. Little of them do know how to dogfight, and I did run out of ammo here, yes, but as I was talking, it is really difficult to keep up with faster aircraft with the IAR. So the way I would put the IAR in is that it's not really a fighter that can bomb, it's more like a bomber that can dogfight. So it can dogfight, like I said, but it's mostly good against unexperienced pilots and if you get the jump on unaware pilots. Because if you do get jumped by an enemy aircraft by a pilot that has an advantage on you and he's also experienced at dogfighting, you're not gonna get the best, situation out of that. And this clip shows perfectly the performance issues of the IAR. Me and this Yak 1 star in the same position, and even though I was, trying my best at him, it wasn't enough. He was the superior dogfighter there, and I just ended up getting shot in the engine and crashing into the ground. But now to the good part of the IAR, which is its 2 50kg bombs and its huge 250kg single bomb, which literally no other fighter other than bombers can handle this sort of payload in its BR. Literally none other, which allows you to get cheapy stuff at ground units like this. Just so you have an idea, I was aiming at the tank that just died once I dropped the bombs, but there was a lot of infantry around it that I didn't know of, and the bombs managed to do its work. But now moving to the dogfighter role, or should I say roles, because we have 2 aircraft in the same place, which are the BF-109 F1 and the F2, with them both being a battle rating 2 aircraft. But you may be wondering, wait, why did you put 2 aircraft in the same place? Well, simple. They are literally the same aircraft set-wise. They have the same payload and the same 2 main guns, only the difference is the 3rd main gun, which the F1 has a 20mm cannon which has less ammo and a lower fire rate, but it is a 20mm cannon, and the F2 having a higher fire rate, 15mm cannon with a lot more ammo. And the main difference between, these aircraft and the IAR, like I mentioned before, is their stats. They are much faster, they have lots of better climbing rate and also energy retention. which if you don't know what that is, you can look at that later. But as you can see, I just died to a P-38, I don't have my aircraft back, and we only have like a Ju-87 trying to hunt him down. I do wish him the best though, because you know, yes, he does have 20 millimeters, but that thing is so much faster than the Ju-88, so, not 88, 87, my bad. So, he doesn't have many chances of fighting against that.
He is the one.
I wish I was this good, man. Anyways, after having a long conversation with my Luger pistol in my head, we go back to the actual aircraft. So both of them are literally the same, like I said, stat-wise. They have the same speed, same turn rate, same climb rate, and the only difference being the main gun and the F2. In order to unlock that, you will need to buy the F1. So it's much more about personal preference of yours if you want to have more, you know, firepower with the 20mm at the cost of less ammo and less fire rate, or a little bit more fire rate and more ammo with the 50mm. My personal preference is the F2 because I do feel like the F1 has very little fire rate compared to the F2. It does have an okay fire rate, but it can be very hard to hit shots sometimes, especially at air targets, but overall it's still a pretty good aircraft. And the performance of these aircraft is amazing. They're very fast, they have an okay turn rate, not the best, not the worst, but they can handle themselves, definitely not on the Spitfire or Zero sort of levels, but even if you do get yourself in troubles against like a Spitfire or something alike, you just can run away and boom and zoom against them. So they are mostly a boom and zooming and energy fighting sort of aircraft. They can handle themselves very well when they have high speed, just not over amounts of speed. Because if they have like, you know, over 500 to 600 kilometers an hour, they can have problems trying to handle themselves at that speed, and you can end up crashing at the ground because of that. But of course, the biggest advantage of these aircraft, as the BF-109s are most well known of, is their climbing speed. Because they can climb and just want to go to the moon, these things, seriously. It's so easy to outclimb 90% of the aircraft, so you just have to fly high if you get into any sort of trouble, and so none of the aircraft will be able to catch you if it is not like a boom zooming aircraft like you, something like the P-38. And that brings me to the point that, you know, this is one of the few aircrafts of the Axis forces that can actually dogfight against the P-38, because they have the better turn rate, although they don't have the higher, like, you know, top speeds of a P-38, but they do have like a similar something, quote-unquote, climb rate. So they can definitely catch up to a P-38 with very much ease if you know what you're doing. And they also have not the worst ordnance, 4 50-kilogram bombs. It's more than enough to deal with high amounts of infantry. It's definitely something that you should keep in mind, and I also killed plenty of vehicles with these things. And don't care about this clip right now. I just, you know, got a little bit bloodthirsty for this kill, and, you know, it makes me lose control because I was going too fast, and so yeah. But now to the one that you guys will like for, you know, getting those sweet round kills and seeing your KD go all the way up in the leaderboards. We're talking about an aircraft which I was also surprised, and will surprise you, that made it into the list. I was between this aircraft and another one that I will mention later. And I'm talking none other than the Ju-87B2, also known as the Stuka. And you may be wondering, why on earth would I add the first version of the Stuka, which is obviously the worst version, into the list, when there's two aircraft which are obvious upgrades to this one. One which is the D5, which has 20mm cannons and the same payload, and there's also the R2, which has a bigger bomb, even though it's just one, which I will get to their aircraft later. Oh, and also don't forget about the D3, which is the best version of them all. So there's three main reasons why did this aircraft made it into the list. The first one is research points. This one is the earliest version of the Stuka you get. And the second reason why I added this aircraft instead of the Ju-87R2 is because of better payload distribution, which I don't even know if that actually exists or if I'm just making it up. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is, with the R2, the Ju-87R2, you only get one pretty huge bomb, which is a 500-kilogram bomb. You can pretty much kill a lot of things in one area, but here's the thing, if you miss that, you're gonna have to go back, resupply, and try to find another target to engage with the bomb. And if you actually hit something with the bomb and kill a bunch of shit, guess what? You're gonna have to do all the same thing again to get more kills. With the B2 at least, yes, you don't have such a huge bomb, but a 250 kilogram bomb can do most of the job just fine. And so, you have plus 4 50 kilogram bombs, which are good for dealing with infantry and even vehicles if you hit them very close to the vehicle. And so you feel like you're more engaged in the battle, where you can, drop 2 or 4 of the 50 kilogram bombs, and then you can go back around, drop the 250 on top of a vehicle or a large group of infantry, and then boom, you go back to resupply. You feel more engaged in the battle. But then still comes the thing, why not the D5, which has the same payload as the B2 and plus the 20mm? Well, then it comes the first reason and the third reason at once, which is research, which you're going to have to research both the B2 and the D3 in order to unlock the D5. And then it comes the third reason, which is it doesn't have the Jericho trumpets. Because, the Jericho trumpets can be very fun and is one of the most, recognizable parts of the Stuka. And now to the honorable mentions, the first one being the BF-109 E7, the first BF-109 you unlock, and you may be wondering why not this BF-109 instead of the F1 or the F2. It does have two 20mm and more ammo than both of them. Well, not than the F2, but anyways. It has a big disadvantage, which is both of the cannons are wing mounted instead of the F1 and F2, which are nose mounted, and so it makes it much easier to hit ground targets and air targets with. But don't get me wrong, this is still an amazing aircraft. It's the first BF-109 you unlock right after, that shitty biplane which you unlock first. And also has the two 20mm, which are harder to aim, like I said, and also is a battle rating 1 instead of 2 like the F1 and F2. And so with the E7, you can as easily dogfight as you were dogfighting with an F1 and F2. And the second honorable mention, you guessed it, is the JU-87R2. And the main situation I would see that you would use the R2 instead of the B2 is because of the bigger bomb, which makes it so much easier to deal with vehicles. And because you have this simpler bomb of 500 kilograms, you have so much of a margin of error when trying to kill vehicles. I actually have tons of clips from me using this aircraft because I thought it was going to make it to the list, but after testing the B2 I found I had more fun with it than the R2. So I think that wraps it up for everything. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I don't know if I will make a review soon, but I will try it because my life has been chaotic. See you all later.